Most games claiming to be perfect 10s are straight up lying to your face. But these 18, they actually earned it. No fluff, no filler. Just 18 absolute masterpieces that justify the PS5's existence. If you're sleeping on any of these games, you're missing out on gaming history. Let's get into it. Okay, so Baldur's Gate 3 is basically what happens when a game developer actually listens to what players want. Instead of just shoving microtransactions down your throat, it's a fantasy role-playing game where you get to make all the choices. And I mean all of them. Want to talk your way out of a fight? Go ahead. Want to push someone off a cliff because they annoyed you? The game lets you do it. And here's the crazy part. The game actually remembers what you did and treats you differently because of it. You create your own character and go on this massive adventure with a bunch of weird companions. There's a vampire who's scared of everything. A wizard who ate a cursed book? Yeah, you heard that right. And my personal favorite? A warrior lady who could probably bench press a dragon. Every conversation feels like it matters because it actually does matter. The combat is turn-based, which means you get time to think about your moves, instead of just button mashing like a maniac. And listen, this game is huge. I'm talking hundreds of hours if you want to see everything. Some people say it's too long, but honestly, when a game is this good, I don't want it to end. The writing is fantastic. The voice acting doesn't make me want to rip my ears off. And you can literally spend 30 minutes just deciding what your character looks like. This is what gaming should be. Huge, ambitious, and actually respecting your intelligence. Alright, let's talk about Elden Ring. The game that made millions of players question their life choices. This is made by From Software, the same people who create the Dark Souls games. But here's the thing. Elden Ring is actually their best game. And I will fight anyone who says otherwise. You play as this warrior person in a massive open world that's absolutely gorgeous, but also wants to kill you every 5 seconds. Dragons? They'll destroy you. Random soldiers? They'll destroy you. That cute little animal over there? Yeah, it'll probably destroy you too. But when you finally beat that boss that's been kicking your butt for 2 hours, nothing else in gaming feels that good. It's like finally understanding math homework after crying about it all night. The combat is all about timing and learning attack patterns. You can't just run in swinging your sword like an idiot. Well, you can, but you'll die immediately. And the world design? Chef's kiss. Every area feels completely different, from poison swamps that'll make you rage quit, to underground cities that make you go, wait, how is this even possible? George R.R. Martin, the Game of Thrones guy? He helped write the story, and it shows. The lore is deep, mysterious, and actually makes you want to figure out what's happening. This game doesn't hold your hand. It pushes you off a cliff and says, figure it out. And somehow, that's exactly what makes it perfect. God of War Ragnarok is the sequel to the 2018 God of War, and somehow it's even better than that game, which already blew everyone's minds. You play as Kratos, this super angry Greek warrior dad who moved to Norse mythology land, and his teenage son Atreus, who's, well, he's a teenager, so he thinks he knows everything. The game picks up where the last one ended, and now you're racing against time to stop Ragnarok, which is basically the end of the world in Norse mythology. What makes this special is how much it cares about the father-son relationship. Kratos is trying so hard to be a good dad, but he's not great at expressing feelings because he's, a warrior who mostly just grunts angrily. Meanwhile, Atreus is discovering his own identity and constantly challenging his dad. It's like watching the most epic family therapy session ever. The combat is brutal and satisfying. Kratos has his Leviathan axe that he throws and calls back like Thor's hammer, plus these blades of chaos on chains that let you go absolutely wild. Every fight feels powerful and crunchy in the best way. And the boss battles? They're spectacular. We're talking massive gods, giant wolves, and creatures that make you go, how am I supposed to fight that? But what really got me was how the game explores heavy themes like grief, destiny, and whether we can change who we're supposed to be. It's deep stuff, wrapped in an action-packed adventure with gorgeous graphics that'll make your jaw drop. Listen, I've been playing games for decades, and sometimes you just need something that makes you smile instead of giving you stress nightmares. That's Astrobot. Don't let the cute little robot fool you. This is one of the most creative and joyful platformers ever made, and it proves that Sony still knows how to make fun games when they're not obsessed with making everything dark and serious. You control this adorable robot named Astro, and your job is to rescue all your robot friends scattered across different galaxies. Simple concept, right? But the execution is brilliant. Every single level introduces new ideas, new mechanics, new ways to play. One level you're a sponge soaking up water. The next you're a frog jumping on lily pads. Then suddenly you're a monkey swinging through trees. The game never runs out of creative ideas, and that's rare these days. What really makes Astro Bot special is how it celebrates PlayStation's history. You'll find characters and references to games from the original PlayStation all the way to PS5. It's like a love letter to gaming itself. And even if you don't get all the references, it doesn't matter because the game is just pure fun. The levels are designed perfectly for younger players, but challenging enough that adults won't get bored. The graphics are colorful and charming. The music is catchy. And honestly, this game just made me happy. Sometimes that's all you need. Not everything has to be dark, gritty, and make you feel terrible. Sometimes you just want to play as a cute robot and have a good time. The original Resident Evil 4 came out almost 20 years ago and changed action games forever. So when Capcom said they were remaking it, everyone was nervous. You know what? They absolutely nailed it. This remake takes everything that made the original great and makes it even better. Which honestly shouldn't be possible, but here we are. You play as Leon Kennedy, this government agent who gets sent to rescue the president's daughter from a creepy village in Europe. Sounds simple, right? Wrong! Everyone in this village is infected with these parasites that make them super aggressive and way smarter than typical zombies. They'll use weapons, climb ladders, work together to surround you. Basically, they'll make your life miserable in the best way possible. The tension in this game is incredible. You're constantly low on ammo, constantly worried about what's around the next corner, and constantly making tough decisions about whether to fight or run. The game masters this balance between action and horror. You're powerful enough to fight back, but never so powerful that you feel safe. And the graphics? They're absolutely disgusting in the most beautiful way. Every gross detail is rendered perfectly. The boss fights are legendary. There's this lake monster called Del Lago that still gives me anxiety. And don't even get me started on the chainsaw, guys. When you hear that chainsaw rev up, your heart will drop into your stomach. This remake proves that old games can be improved without losing what made them special in the first place. Alan Wake 2 is one of the weirdest, creepiest, and most mind-bending games I've ever played, and I mean that as the highest compliment possible. This is a survival horror game that feels like someone took a Stephen King novel, mixed it with a TV show, threw in some nightmares, and somehow made it all work perfectly together. You actually play as two different characters. There's Alan Wake, a writer who's been trapped in this dark nightmare place for 13 years trying to write his way out. Yes, literally write his way out. Then there's Saga Anderson, an FBI agent investigating these ritualistic murders in a creepy small town. Their stories connect in ways that'll make your brain hurt. But in a good way. The scary parts are genuinely scary. We're talking about shadow creatures that come at you in the dark, and your flashlight is your main weapon. You have to shine light on these things before you can shoot them, which means you're constantly managing your resources and probably screaming at your TV. The atmosphere is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Every sound makes you jump. Every shadow looks suspicious. But what makes Alan Wake 2 special is how it plays with reality itself. You'll question what's real and what's not. The game uses live-action footage mixed with gameplay, changes genres on you, and breaks the fourth wall in ways that are absolutely brilliant. It's like the game is messing with your head, not just the characters. This isn't just a horror game, it's an experience that'll stick with you long after you finish it. Deathloop is what happens when developers ask, what if we made a game about being stuck in the worst day ever, but also made it super stylish and fun? You play as Colt, this assassin who's trapped in a time loop on an island full of people partying like there's no tomorrow. Which, for them, there technically isn't because the day keeps repeating. Here's the genius part. You need to kill 8 specific targets in one day to break the loop. But the island is huge, and all these targets are in different places doing different things. So you have to be smart about it, figure out their patterns, learn their schedules, and plan the perfect route to take them all out before midnight. Every time you die or the day ends, you start over. But you keep what you learned. It's like Groundhog Day meets James Bond meets a really complicated puzzle. The gunplay feels fantastic. Smooth, responsive, and satisfying. Plus, you have these cool powers like teleportation and linking enemies together so killing one kills them all. And the style? Oh man, the game looks like a 1960s spy movie had a baby with a comic book. The colors pop, the music slaps, and the whole vibe is just cool. But here's where it gets interesting. Another player can invade your game as Juliana, another assassin who's hunting you. Suddenly, you're not just fighting AI enemies, you're dealing with an actual person trying to ruin your perfect loop. It adds this layer of tension that keeps you on your toes. Deathloop is creative, unique, and proves that new ideas can still work in a world full of sequels and remakes. Metaphor Refantatio comes from the same team that made the Persona games, and let me tell you, they took everything they learned and created something completely new, and honestly better in a lot of ways. This is a fantasy RPG that tackles real-world issues like racism, inequality, and political corruption, but does it through this incredible fantasy world that doesn't feel preachy at all. You play as a protagonist in a kingdom where different tribes of people are discriminated against based on how they look. Sound familiar? The game isn't subtle about its themes, and I love that. You're basically running for king while also fighting monsters and trying to unite people who hate each other. It's ambitious storytelling that actually has something to say, instead of just being another save the princess plot. The combat system is brilliant. It's turn-based, but with this cool twist where you can see enemy weaknesses and plan your strategy like a chess match. Hitting weaknesses gives you extra turns, so fights become these satisfying puzzles where you're trying to maximize damage and minimize risk. And the job system lets you change your character's class and abilities, so you can customize your team exactly how you want. What really got me is how the game explores what it means to be a hero, and whether one person can actually change a corrupt system. The characters you meet all have depth and their own struggles. Nobody is just the funny one, or the serious one. They feel like real people dealing with real problems, just in a fantasy setting. The art style is gorgeous, the music is phenomenal, and the story will make you think long after you're done playing. Hades is a roguelike dungeon crawler, which normally means prepare to die a lot and get frustrated. But somehow this game makes dying fun. You play as Zagreus, son of Hades? Yeah, the Hades, god of the underworld. Your dad is the worst, so you're trying to escape hell to reach Mount Olympus. Sounds simple, but this game has more personality and charm than most games twice its size. Every time you die, and you will die constantly, you go back to the start. But here's the brilliant part. Dying actually progresses the story. You have conversations with characters, unlock new weapons and abilities, and learn more about this dysfunctional family of Greek gods. So even when you fail, you're still making progress. It's addictive in the best way possible. The combat is fast, frantic, and incredibly satisfying. You dash around, smashing enemies with different weapons while the Greek gods themselves give you power-ups. Maybe Athena gives you a shield. Maybe Zeus makes your attacks shock enemies. Maybe Dionysus makes enemies drunk. Yes, really. Every run feels different because you're constantly getting new combinations of powers. But what makes Hades special is the writing and voice acting. Every character is memorable and fully voiced. Your dad Hades is this grumpy workaholic who's terrible at showing emotion. The other gods treat you like their favorite nephew and love gossiping about each other. Even the enemies have personality. The game is funny, touching, and manages to tell a complete story in a genre that usually doesn't care about story at all. Plus, the art style is absolutely gorgeous. Everyone looks like they walked out of the coolest comic book ever made. Demon's Souls is a complete remake of the game that started this whole brutally difficult but weirdly addictive genre. This is the grandfather of Dark Souls and Elden Ring. And the PS5 version makes it look absolutely stunning, while keeping all that sweet difficulty that makes you want to throw your controller. You're thrown into the kingdom of Boletaria, which has been covered by this evil fog that turns everyone into demons or mindless zombies. Your job? Fight through 5 different regions, defeat massive bosses, and try not to lose your mind in the process. The game doesn't explain anything, no tutorials, no hand-holding. Just, good luck, try not to die. Spoiler alert, you're going to die, a lot. What makes Demon's Souls special is how fair it is, despite being so hard. When you die, it's usually because you messed up, not because the game cheated. You didn't dodge when you should have. You got greedy and went for that extra hit. You weren't paying attention to your surroundings. The game teaches you through pain, and somehow that makes finally winning feel incredible. The boss fights are legendary. There's a dragon on a bridge that will destroy you, a massive knight that moves faster than he has any right to, and this blob monster that's genuinely disgusting. Each boss requires you to learn their patterns and find their weaknesses. The graphics in the PS5 version are jaw-dropping. The armor looks so detailed you can see every scratch, and the environments are dark, gothic, and beautiful in a twisted way. This game will test your patience. But if you stick with it, you'll understand why millions of people became obsessed with this style of game. Final Fantasy VII. Rebirth is the second part of this massive remake project, and Square Enix somehow made it bigger and better than the first game, which already blew everyone's minds. This is a JRPG, Japanese role-playing game. That's about fighting an evil corporation that's literally sucking the life out of the planet. Sound relevant? Yeah, it should. You play as Cloud Strife, this spiky-haired mercenary with a massive sword who thinks he's the coolest guy ever, but actually has some serious issues he needs to work through. He's traveling with this amazing group of friends, including Tifa, who could punch a building into dust, Aerith, who's sweet, but hiding some major secrets, and Barrett, who has a gun for an arm and isn't afraid to tell you exactly what he thinks about everything. The combat system is perfect. It mixes real-time action with strategic menu commands, so you're dodging and attacking while also planning your next move. Each character plays completely differently. Switching between them mid-battle keeps things exciting and fresh. And the limit breaks? Those are special ultimate attacks that look absolutely spectacular and make you feel like the most powerful person in the universe. But what really makes Rebirth special is how huge the world is. You can explore entire regions, do side quests, play minigames like Chocobo Racing. Yes, you ride giant chickens, and just get lost in this incredible world. The story deals with heavy themes like loss, identity, and fighting for what's right, even when it seems impossible. The graphics are stunning, the music will give you goosebumps, and the emotional moments will hit you hard. This is storytelling at its finest. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is what happens when you take everything people loved about the first two Spider-Man games and turn it up to 11. You get to play as both Peter Parker and Miles Morales. Two Spider-Men for the price of one. And trust me, you need both of them because the threats in this game are massive. Peter is dealing with the black symbiote suit? Yeah, the Venom suit, which makes him super powerful but also kind of a jerk. It's like watching your favorite hero slowly lose control, and it's both awesome and terrifying. Miles is trying to figure out his own path as Spider-Man while dealing with typical teenage problems like school and family drama. The game lets you switch between them, and they each have unique powers and fighting styles that feel completely different. The web swinging? Still the best feeling in any game. Soaring through New York City, doing flips and tricks, feeling the speed as you zoom between buildings, it never gets old. They added web wings this time so you can glide across the city even faster. And the combat is so smooth and satisfying. You're chaining together punches, kicks, web attacks, and special abilities while dodging bullets and attacks. You genuinely feel like Spider-Man. The story is emotional and intense. You're fighting classic villains like Kraven the Hunter, who's this big game hunter treating superheroes like trophies, and Venom, who's absolutely terrifying in this version. The game explores friendship, responsibility, and what it means to be a hero when everything is falling apart. Plus, Queens is now fully explorable alongside Manhattan and Brooklyn, so the map is huge. This is the ultimate Spider-Man power fantasy. It Takes Two is the most creative co-op game ever made, and I will die on this hill. You cannot play this alone. You need a friend or family member to play with you, either locally or online. And you know what? That's the point. This is a game about relationships, communication, and working together. And it practices what it preaches. You play as Cody and May, a couple who are getting divorced. Their daughter is heartbroken, and through some magic that honestly doesn't need explaining, they get turned into tiny dolls and have to work together to become human again. The setup sounds weird, and it is weird, but it works because the gameplay is absolutely brilliant. Every single level introduces completely new mechanics. One chapter, you're both inside a vacuum cleaner fighting dust bunnies. Another chapter, you're in a magical fantasy kingdom. Then suddenly you're in space or underwater or inside a cuckoo clock. The game never repeats itself. Just when you think you've seen everything, it throws something totally new at you. And the puzzles require genuine teamwork. You can't just do everything yourself while your partner watches. The game is also genuinely funny. There's this talking book character named Dr. Hakim who guides you and makes terrible relationship advice jokes. The humor is silly and charming, perfect for playing with kids or friends who just want to have fun. But underneath the laughs, there's real heart. The game explores how relationships fall apart and what it takes to fix them, but in a way that's accessible and not preachy. What I love most is how this game proves that co-op doesn't have to be just two players shooting things together. It can be creative, emotional, and constantly surprising. Returnal is a psychological horror roguelike that will absolutely mess you up. And I mean that in the best way possible. This is not an easy game. It's punishing, stressful, and will make you question your life choices. But if you push through that difficulty, you'll find one of the most unique and rewarding experiences on PS5. You play as Celine, an astronaut who crashes on this alien planet called Atropos. Every time she dies, she wakes up at the crash site and has to start over. But here's the twist. The planet changes every time. Rooms shuffle around, enemies appear in different places, and you never know what you're going to face. It's like the planet itself is alive and trying to kill you in new and creative ways. The combat is intense. Imagine bullet hell shooters where the screen fills with projectiles, but in third-person 3D. You're constantly dodging, dashing, and shooting while these alien creatures throw everything at you. The DualSense controller features are incredible here. You feel every gunshot, every impact, every alien scream through the haptic feedback. It's genuinely immersive without feeling gimmicky. But what makes Returnal special is the story. As you explore, you find audio logs and disturbing scenes from Celine's past. The game plays with your mind. Is this really happening? Is she going crazy? What's real and what's not? The atmosphere is oppressive and eerie. You're always on edge, always tense, and the sound design makes everything feel threatening. The boss fights are spectacular and terrifying. These massive creatures that require perfect pattern recognition and lightning-fast reflexes. When you finally beat one after dozens of attempts, the rush of adrenaline is unreal. This game respects your skill and intelligence, never holds your hand, and trusts you to figure things out. The Witcher 3 originally came out in 2015 and was already considered one of the best RPGs ever made. Now, the complete edition on PS5 makes it look and run even better, which means there's zero excuse not to play this masterpiece if you somehow missed it the first time. You play as Geralt of Rivia, a Witcher, which is basically a monster hunter for hire. He's got white hair, cool scars, 2 swords, one for humans, one for monsters, and the ability to use magic signs. He's gruff, sarcastic, and honestly, one of the best video game characters ever written. You're searching for Ciri, Geralt's adopted daughter, who's being hunted by this terrifying army called the Wild Hunt. What makes The Witcher 3 legendary is how much choice you have. Almost every quest has multiple ways to solve it, and your decisions actually matter. Save this person or that person. Kill the monster or spare it. Trust this character or betray them. The game remembers everything, and your choices ripple through the entire story. It's not black and white morality either. Sometimes there's no good option, just different shades of bad. The world is massive. We're talking hundreds of hours of content. The main story is epic and emotional, but the side quests? They're often better than main quests in other games. Each one feels handcrafted with real stories, interesting characters, and meaningful outcomes. You're not just collecting bear butts or killing 10 rats. You're solving mysteries, making tough decisions, and seeing the consequences. The combat takes some getting used to. It's all about timing, dodging, and using the right tools for each monster. The complete edition includes both massive expansions, which add another 50+ hours of content. This is the full package, the definitive version of one of gaming's greatest achievements. The original Silent Hill 2 came out in 2001 and is considered one of the greatest horror games ever made. So when Bloober Team announced they were remaking it, everyone was terrified. Not in a good way. Remakes usually ruin classics, but somehow they absolutely nailed it. This remake respects the original while making it feel fresh and even more disturbing. You play as James Sunderland, a man who receives a letter from his dead wife telling him to meet her in Silent Hill. Yeah, his dead wife. Right from the start, you know something is seriously wrong. James goes to this foggy, abandoned town looking for answers, and what he finds is way worse than anything he could imagine. This isn't a game about jump scares, this is psychological horror. The town of Silent Hill creates monsters based on James's guilt and trauma. Everything you see reflects his twisted mental state. There's Pyramid Head, this iconic monster with a giant triangle helmet who represents James's need for punishment. Just seeing him will make your blood run cold. The atmosphere is suffocating. Thick fog everywhere. Rusty environments, disturbing sounds that make your skin crawl. The combat is intentionally clunky because James isn't some action hero. He's just a regular guy who's terrified and swinging a pipe hoping for the best. You'll spend most of the game low on resources, scared to fight, and questioning what's real. The story explores heavy themes like grief, guilt, and denial in ways that'll stick with you long after you finish. The graphics are incredible. Every detail is rendered beautifully in the most disgusting way possible. And the sound design? Turn your volume up and prepare to never feel safe again. This remake proves that classic horror can be updated without losing its soul. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is a kid's game that's so well made, even cynical adults like me can't help but love it. This is what happens when developers actually understand how to use the PS5's power. This game literally couldn't exist on older consoles, and that's rare to say nowadays. You play as Ratchet, a space cat thing called a Lombax, and his tiny robot buddy Clank. They're fighting against Emperor Nefarious, this evil robot who wants to conquer the multiverse. The story is simple Saturday morning cartoon stuff, but the gameplay? That's where this game becomes special. You're jumping between dimensions instantly, like you'll jump through a portal, and bam! You're in a completely different world with no loading screen. The PS5's SSD makes this possible, and it's genuinely mind-blowing. The weapons are absolutely ridiculous in the best way. You've got a gun that turns enemies into plants. Another one that shoots out a disco ball making enemies dance before they explode. And my personal favorite, the Rhino, which literally rips holes in dimensions and drops random objects on enemies. Want to crush a robot with a pirate ship? This game lets you do it. But here's what surprised me. They added a new playable character named Rivet, a female Lombax from another dimension. She's awesome. Tough, funny, and just as capable as Ratchet. Playing as her doesn't feel like playing a clone. She has her own personality and story that actually matters. The graphics are cartoon perfection. Every frame looks like a Pixar movie with incredible detail, vibrant colors, and smooth animation. The levels are creative and packed with secrets to find. This game is pure joy. It's proof that games don't need to be dark and gritty to be excellent. Hades 2 is the sequel to one of the best games ever made, and somehow it's better than the original while still in early access. Let that sink in. This game isn't even finished yet, and it's already a masterpiece. You play as Melino, daughter of Hades and sister to Zagreus from the first game. But instead of escaping hell, you're trying to invade it to stop Kronos, the titan of time who's taken over. Everything that made the first Hades great is here, but bigger. More weapons, more gods giving you powers, more enemies trying to murder you, and more story that'll make you actually care about Greek mythology. The combat feels even smoother and faster. You're dashing around casting spells and smashing enemies while the gods cheer you on and offer you wild power combinations. What's brilliant is how different Melino is from Zagreus. She's more serious, more focused on her mission, but she still has personality. The gods treat her differently because she's on a righteous quest instead of just running away from family drama. You'll meet new gods like Apollo and Hestia, and they're all fully voiced with amazing dialogue that makes them feel like real characters instead of just power-up dispensers. The art style is somehow even more gorgeous than the first game. Every environment is detailed and beautiful. Every character design is iconic. And the animations are silky smooth. The music is phenomenal. Epic orchestral tracks that pump you up during fights and emotional melodies during story moments. And remember, this is early access. The developers are actively adding more content, listening to feedback, and making it better. If it's this good now, imagine how incredible it'll be when it's complete. This is how you make a sequel. Keep what worked, improve what didn't, and add enough new stuff to justify its existence. Look, the gaming industry loves throwing around the term masterpiece like it's candy. But these 18 games, they actually deserve the hype. In an era where we're constantly fed half-finished garbage at full price, these titles prove that excellence is still possible when developers actually care. If you haven't played all of these yet, fix that. Your backlog can wait. These are the games you'll remember 20 years from now. And if you disagree with any of my picks, good. Drop a comment and tell me why I'm wrong. I love a good argument. Hit that subscribe button if you want more honest game recommendations without the corporate nonsense. And smash the like button if this video helped you figure out what to play next. I'll catch you in the next one. Now go play something incredible.